Let's call this meeting to order, guys.
To pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, here. First thing is approval of the minutes from June 3rd. Everyone had a chance to take a look at this. Anyone have any questions, concerns, corrections, anything like that?
Jim said that because he wasn't on the last one, that he didn't vote on it, so I just took him off for the correct. That wasn't have to be.
Cool, sounds good. Yep, that's all good. So I'll make that correction. Other than that, motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
So a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. To new business. So we're going to start kind of discussing the land ordinance and vacant vacancies. I think Dr. Roberts, this is probably one of the more important parts being dock lights, because it's a safety issue, especially at nighttime when people are light. That's about glare on the water, able to see things in the water. So I just figured this was probably the most important, especially during the summer months when it's on the water. So the intent tonight is to listen to what Robert has to say, talk about it, discuss it, get it ready, potentially for recommendation to the board involved in the next month. So, Robert, I'll let you take it away.
It was on the right page, and then I checked other foot. So, good evening, Chairman, Boardman, and members of the planning board. This is just an amendment to two sections of the lighting ordinance. Our lighting ordinance contains a handful of redundancies in the commercial and residential where they address residential and commercial, so it essentially say the same thing. So I had to omit both of those when looking at the lighting ordinance. A lot of this language came out of the ad hoc committee that looked at the lighting ordinance. Essentially, steps forwarding this draft text amendment because it's probably one of the more important aspects of the lighting ordinances that came through that essentially concerns updating the language a little bit with modern standards, but not addressing the entire ordinance right now. The key provisions of this, as your packet says on page 4, is shielded fixtures only, which is currently all that's allowed anyway. Height limits. This does address the residential and commercial height limits of the light, the light poles out there. The fixtures on commercial docks are capped at 15 feet above the lowest platform. Those on private docks may not exceed 10 feet above the low point where tie down. The lower fixtures reduce the angle of directed light, lowering those a little bit and still keeping them at full cutoff so that they don't produce uplighting. Lowering that angle would create less reflection on the water, which is a key aspect of our lighting ordinance. One of the key features of our existing lighting ordinance is to reduce glare and reflection on the water for boater safety, et cetera. The restriction on bare light sources exists currently. It just changes the language a bit. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Underwater lights, this is a new thing that's come up in the past, I would say 10 years, that is not addressed in our ordinance, but certainly is addressed in many municipalities around all coastal communities, north to south, not even in North Carolina. So summary of the request is looking back on July 15th of last year, we had for this is for discussion only, I'm sorry, for this year. The mid-July, mid-August, we'll be going through the draft language just to make sure I've got what is reflected in your desire. Like I said, I'm bringing a lot of the stuff from the ad hoc committees to you all to go over it and maybe adjust it for modernizations going forward, because the ad hoc committee had many long meetings over a long course of time, long stretch of time. And I think that everyone can agree in the ad hoc committee that we distilled that language down into how the committee wanted it to be presented to the planning board. And so I'm beginning to bring these small aspects to you. But I'll look on page 6 of the packet under section 15598, commercial exterior lighting. This is a small change that of legal language that you'll notice. Commercial docks and piers, we just changed the word from restrict to eliminate uplighting. And that is easily handled by the 90-degree cutoff, like a full cutoff shield on any lighting fixture, which is currently required anyway. Under subsection 1, all lighting fixtures, we changed must to shall. That's just, legal terminology. Must to shall, subsection A. Produce no glare to control glare, because we are attempting to address that glare. Do not produce uplighting. We've got rid of do not to produce no, just because it's more clear language. No trespass on adjoining properties. Change that to uplands. From uplands to properties, because uplands was unclear. So to the adjoining properties just made more sense in that. Changing the mounting light should be as low as practical, but in no case shall the fixture be mounted higher than. We changed that from 25 to 15 after getting the heights from Duke Energy for the lighting fixtures that were around the marina districts. And then adding subsection E, underwater decorative or fishing lights attached to docks, piers, boats, and lands are prohibited. And essentially going down into section 155.910, private piers, docks, changing that from 25 feet to 10 feet on the elevated lights, and then pointed to where the dock and pier joins. The main line was changed there. So then going down, we added a subsection 5. That says the exact same thing as subsection D of the commercial section, where it just says underwater decorative or fishing lights attached to docks, piers, boats, and prohibited. And granted that those underwater lights are primarily used to attract fish on those docks and whatnot. And in a lot of cases, they're sometimes they're decorative. It's trying to control that, because a big issue on the waterways, especially concerning safety, is lights under and on the water at night. For anyone boating in the waterways who's actually been out there knows that it can be confusing. It messes with depth perception. It messes with where you can see the dock lights, because it sort of distorts the perception of where the pier headline is, which can be an issue for anybody who's not necessarily familiar with the way the pier headline is laid out in our waterways. And then on page 9 is the planning board statement of consistency. It's land use compatibility, section 5. Public access. The management goal, planning objectives call for mitigating risk, public health, safety, welfare, reducing glare, water conflict years, directly where there's the safety objective called section 5 of land use compatibility. Section 5 for public access, implementing action 25, 29, and 30, which just say increasing public awareness, safe boating rules for projects that block, repair, and navigable channels, and then strictly enforce the pier head line and development standards for docks and piers. And then Action 31, limit additional mooring areas to avoid congestion. I cannot remember why I put that one in there. I can take that one out if it doesn't seem appropriate. But then the water quality management goals, letting actions, maintain, protect, and enhance water quality in coastal waters. I think all of that is mitigating any sort of accident will meet Section 5 of the Channel Lake East Plan. So that's pretty much it. That's all that I had. We did advertise this 10 days ago. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Like a remark. So what we've been looking at the commercial
Sure.
versus private. Is there a big, are they basically, I'm not, I can see it or I can read it, but is there anything hidden? Like I know what I would hear from neighbors is that because, because you don't live off the way.
Right.
Everybody's, for the most part, has complied. But there's still some commercial peers that have not. So their first question is going to be, why did I have to do this or I do that in the commercial? So is there any big difference what's the biggest difference between commercial and private?
Well,
In other words, what's the biggest thing that the
why is there a
commercial
difference?
can do? Yeah, that's a good question. The height, is that really the only?
Well, historically, when there was a lot more commercial fishing going on and it coming into the town, you would need those higher lights if you were working at night. That just doesn't really happen anymore. But that's not to say that it couldn't happen. So I think what we were talking about in the ad hoc committee is to not make it so restrictive that the commercial properties didn't have the ability to light the workspace if there was something going on during that time. But for residential, there's just no need to have a light source.
Well, I'm not
that's that
talking
high.
about a work. I'm just talking about it. I'm talking about a business. It's like a run. Like my neighbors are all aggravated that they all took their lights down, shielded them, did all the things that they knew were
Right.
coming, and then they don't have to. It doesn't bother me personally. Because I'm.
Well, they do. If I received a complaint about the blockade runner, I have discussed this several times with Trailborn. Now, sorry, Trailborn. I've discussed this several times with the people at Trailborn, and their floodlights have been called out, and they've turned those off now. The uplighting on the front of the building is being they were apparently connected to the lights somewhere else on the building, and they couldn't turn those lights off. So they had to have an electrician come in and separate those switches so that the lights that were going up on the building are now turned off, I guess. And as far as the pedestal lights that were out in the patio on the oceanfront side, those I think are full cutoff now, but I'm not 100% certain that they're under the ratio for commercial on that illumination standard that exists in our current ordinance, where I walk around the property with a lumen meter and see how bright it is. That's the only thing that we haven't addressed. Now, if there's a violation on the water, which is specifically what this is talking about, then that's a whole other issue that I haven't seen while I was visiting the property. But I walked around several times at night on several different occasions.
On the sound side.
Right, on the
That's
sound
fine.
side. I parked across the street and, took pictures of the structure. Didn't notice anything. Nothing was immediately obvious to me as a violation on the water side. Plus, I hadn't received any complaints about that side. So I was looking at the western elevation, which is the front that faces Waynick. Noted the violations there. Noted the violations off of Lumina, the public access to the south. and there were no violations to the north that I noticed, with the exception of when you went to the eastern elevation, which is beachfront. There are floodlights there. I could go out there and, you could surf at midnight. It was extremely bright, but they have addressed that.
Okay.
So, it's just a matter of, like, our entire lighting ordinance, the majority of our land use ordinance, most ratio permits, obviously, is complaint based.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I say.
Yeah. So if I don't receive a complaint about, I don't live here.
Mhm.
And so if I don't receive a complaint about it, I don't come back here at night unless my wife and I are visiting.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't see any of those violations. So there are some aspects of our ordinance that are clearly violations that everyone seems to be okay with until they're not.
Because they're not. Yeah.
Right. So that's where some of that comes in. And I've said it since I've been here that there are no snitches on Roseville Beach. So it's hard to enforce if I leave work 3-4 hours before the sun goes down, before those lights ever come on. And unless, I receive that complaint, then I typically wouldn't come back unless it's on the weekend. Like I say, I'm just passing through or what have you.
Because I know it's going to come up.
Sure.
Because it came up when it.
Sure, and it always comes up, and even in the new iteration, these things are still complaint driven. I'm not sure that there's any way around that because you wouldn't want, well, I'd say you wouldn't want to, but your police force is not trained in land use, and so that they're not going to be looking for those types of violations. I mean, that's planning and inspection's job.
That's why we're doing this.
Yes, exactly.
And educate
Yeah.
on what our current ordinance are.
Exactly.
Just so people are aware and then they can
Right.
trace and use it.
And there's some things that I really would like to change language-wise in our current lighting ordinance, but I just haven't brought it to you yet. I mean, and that is simply, converting wattage to lumens, which is a standard, and, just illustrations, which I think are very useful, and things like that. So I just thought that as far as the reflections on the water goes, it was just something that we could talk about fairly easily and still let you guys know that this is essentially the same ordinance with some tighter language. I mean, yes, you may argue that do not and produce no are, I would say that they're semantics, but and you also may say that restrict versus eliminate. That is a little bit more tighter. That is more tight language as far as restrictions are concerned. But I mean, it's still complaint based. And I don't think that, where do you draw the line with restriction? Either you allow it or you don't.
Right.
And so if you have the motive to restrict it, then you clearly don't want to allow it. And so we just changed that language so that it's more clear, so that if someone does complain to staff, then we at least have a leg to stand on in that situation. So that's basically where that comes from.
Well, I'm just thinking ahead.
Sure.
Based on what, when we were dabbling in this a while back, and everybody was getting letters and got to do this, and everybody was doing it.
Yeah, as a habit, I don't tour the neighborhoods and send out letters unless there's a complaint. You don't want, it might sound silly, but I think that the product that we have now, which is our existing ordinance, has a lot of intention with not a lot of enforceability. And so we just want to make the intention, if that is how it's written, then the intention needs to be clear as opposed to passive. And I'm not saying write a bunch of violation letters. I'm just saying that folks need to know what the ordinance is, and it needs to be clear.
Right. Stop it, just get it
Right.
right for,
So that's really the purpose.
yeah, those-
There is no holiday lights exceptions for docks, correct?
Well,
Is that,
I think that we've always gone that the holiday dock, the docks, just like any string lights, can go up during the holidays, which is, I think it's October through January.
would that be contrary to us trying to eliminate glare on the water?
That's contrary to the majority of our lighting ordinance, but people like holiday lights, and
And yeah, I'm just asking the question because.
yeah, I think that's why they created that window.
But the holiday lights are residential is the same issue.
Right.
On the back, so there's the same issue.
Correct. Yes.
And there is a lot less traffic.
They're like those,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah. I mean, it's
I was just wondering.
definitely different.
Well, I mean, that being said, if what exists in our ordinance now is in commercial, which is subsection D, 15598, air light sources, including but not limited to festive lights, trans, incandescent fluorescence, and high-intensity discharge neon lights used to outline commercial docks and piers are prohibited.
Is it-
Prohibited to me says that there's not a carve out for the holiday lighting. So, I mean, that's, thinking through it now, I would say that you are correct. That carve out for holidays does not apply to docks and piers because it says prohibited.
And it also says, but not limited to festive lights, trans. It's even got that
That's right. Yes.
wording in there.
It does say that in there. Yes.
So basically what we're saying is holiday lights are not allowed.
Right. Not allowed on the docks and piers. And I'm very aware that they are everywhere.
John,
They are everywhere.
what did that activity talk about that?
We did.
Yeah, a lot of the bare lights, I mean, a lot of those light strands are in our sign ordinance and not in our lighting ordinance.
Yeah, a couple of years ago during COVID, Otoa did the dock contest. And lit up all the docks.
that started it too, that's.
People hire, they have that lighting group. Down, they decorate their piers and
Yeah.
every time.
But there are some people that go out there and did because they were mad because the lighting ordinance stuff. So, like, the guy put it down for me, his lights up in like September. He lit stuff up for Christmas because he was pissed.
July.
So,
Well, I mean, the thing is, realistically, the bottom line is all of this comes out of the Campbell Land Use Plan, which is the master plan that was advertised for, I want to say, years before it's adopted. There are buckets and buckets of public hearings. I mean, if you don't want something in the Campbell Land Use Plan, then you can show up and talk about it. And it's adjusted every, I think the state requires it, whatever's reasonable. And I think that ours is coming up in the next few years. We're not really planning on process now, but it will be addressed, in the next couple of years, I'm guessing. But that's part of living in a society. And because of our flood ordinances and our land use plan, and our zoning and everything like that, we're required to have a land use plan.
Mhm.
If you have zoning, you have to have a land use plan. All of that takes public input. So,
Can also have it?
Yeah, I had a couple questions.
sure.
On page 6, Robert, and I hate to be picky, but I'll pull a deal for you tonight. Under 155.910, A1,
Sure.
I wondered if we should change the word contain to seal. Just when I read it the first time on picture, that maybe we should be consistent because we use shield.
Yep. I mean, for consistency's sake, that doesn't really
You're okay with that?
kind of thing in that.
The only other questions I had was I was trying to find some other municipality that had an ordinance, and I couldn't really find anybody other than I looked at Carolina Beach. I guess they've got some marinas that are run by the town. So under North Carolina session law, it says that the state has the right to regulate the commercial docks and piers out in the waterway. And it also says that their regulations would overrule anything that we propose. And I think we just should let the aldermen know, maybe they want the town attorney to check into that. If we're going to propose something, then the state can come along and say, I'll just use an example, maybe one of the marinas says, well, you can't do that because we've got the right to do this under state law.
Right.
We don't want to cause a problem for them. So this is probably something we ought to check out.
Sure.
Now, all the residential stuff, it appears to me that we've got the right to regulate all that because it's not private property. All the docks and piers are not, you have a waterfront property, that's not your property underneath the dock.
Yeah.
And I think that's everything I had. Oh, where you use the term downlights into the water.
Mhm.
Are you referring to a light that's installed in the water? It kind of reads that
Wait,
way.
where are you talking about? Are you talking about the underwater decorative or fishing lights
Yes,
attached
yeah,
to
yeah.
docks, piers,
Yeah.
boats, and land approvers? No, that's specifically underwater.
Which means the lights aren't underwater.
Correct.
Okay, good. So I'm glad they brought it up because there are lights that are mounted on the docks and the piers that shine way down in the water,
Mhm.
and they're all different colors. And
Right.
I've got a picture from our old meeting, that one that I think that's all taken down now or out. But so do you feel that covers lights?
I feel that covers, all the lights.
So that would be using loopholes to get out of it. Okay.
I couldn't imagine, but you can ask around and see if anybody could think of how you would push that envelope.
Well, somebody will try.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Jim,
then
let's see your picture.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. And then I guess I've got a concern about these holiday lights. I mean, I think that's gonna cause a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still remain prohibited under this language.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about.
That was the reason why I asked the question, because.
People are gonna wanna
Yeah, that doesn't-
decorate.
Yeah, we're gonna do them.
And again, we're complaint driven.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's not. I can't necessarily. And the reason why that aspect of it is important is you have to figure that I can't go. There's only so many beach accesses, and they're not between every house.
Right.
For me to go look. So, quite literally, if I were to inspect that, I would have to go to the complainant's house or receive a complaint and then arrange a meeting with the person who's in violation.
You could get the
Talk
police
about
boat and go out around the.
it. I mean, I've done that. Don't get me wrong. I've done that. So, I mean, I have arranged a meeting after 8:00 with someone and talked about where their lights are out of compliance, and what we can do to make it compliant. I mean, it does happen.
Has anybody viewed the houseboat and Banks channel? What it looks like?
Earlier,
Yes.
you missed that conversation. You missed that.
That's coming.
Have you seen it tonight?
I
Watched it out there tonight.
heard it.
I haven't seen it at night either. Is it lit up at night? I haven't seen it at night.
So if there's anybody on there. The McCombs are right across from the McCombs house, and I could sit me like Footy's house.
All right, so that's for a separate meeting. Does anyone else have any questions about the docks?
I was.
All right, anybody's on that,
I think at some point you're gonna have to make a recommendation for holidays.
I think, yeah. I think
But
that-
somebody's gonna have to
Right,
deal
but,
with that.
and I don't know, maybe you can learn more specifically for for that, then if we want to do it, like we have it from October 1st to January, whatever first. Or
Something like that.
so maybe because there's a lot of votes in October 1st, maybe we the Bedford Christmas.
Yeah.
Just a little bit narrower, so the people that are on there, it's less of a safe.
Sure.
And again, you know, we're talking about glare on the water, which is going to affect boats, which is going to affect, you know, people who are in the water, floating in the water, seeing things. So safety has to be.
At least narrow the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this, we're gonna send the board a recommendation. That'll be something we need to recommend to them that they deal with.
But we won't see that until August or
Right,
September,
right.
right?
Yeah, I think maybe if everyone agrees, maybe come up with something narrower than what we have for the holiday. But at the same point, because we have the flexibility, we just say cold here. It's tough to say we can't do that. I can say that other guys.
Yeah.
About boats.
You're gonna have a hard time telling much winter. I can't.
I mean, I was going to be a job.
No. But I think there are limited time limits. I thought it was too broad anyway. When it first came up, it was too broad.
What flotilla is Friday after?
Thanksgiving, Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Sorry,
So we could start that week.
say you could almost.
A lot of people like to do it before Thanksgiving, right after
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
you can always say the week of the Monday before Thanksgiving
Yeah.
through June 1st.
Visit yourself about 12 days of Christmas. You should go at least
Do we
take
say-
it.
Yeah, well, Monday before Thanksgiving to the first week of January.
But you're right, David. I think it's narrow.
Any thoughts on that?
I personally.
So like quiet down.
Yeah, all they have to do is unplug them, they don't have to take them down right away.
Right, correct, yeah.
We should unplug them.
It's maybe something like that.
But again, we won't see this until.
No, maybe, we'll bring us something maybe in August. Going to all here. That's sick.
But that's 2 weeks.
Discussion. We're gonna fight for it or just do it special.
It's funny, has to be, is that?
Someone want to speak up?
No.
If we can glitch, come up.
Yes, sir.
Give us your name, address.
Jim Williams, 146 Strickland Court.
Yep.
The question was just more to the docks, right? The boats that are attached to the docks can't have underground lighting, correct?
Can't enforce that as a best select you.
Or not?
That would be something that.
I'll have to look into it.
I don't think we can enforce for, no,
It's just a question as I'm sitting here.
I don't think we can enforce that, but it's.
Probably the folks not, yeah.
It's the. Okay, that's the same question we were talking about with,
Yeah,
I get it from the docks, you don't.
I'm guessing not, but because this was for discussion, I have to run the fine points of that towards the town attorney when I get. So the idea is to get more questions, to get them all at once instead of having
yep.
15 different meetings.
I get, we got, yeah, so ask him about that as well, man. That's an interesting one, but I don't think you're actually, he's serious about it. I don't think that's why. Anyone else? Sucks. More discussion. That's where we're at. We'll, talk about it, bring something back in August and we'll.
And I'll get the attorney's opinion on these things, as far as lights and water and things like that, but I mean.
Sounds good. Any, old business anyone want to talk about? Robert, Gary, anything for us? Anything else that you can discuss? Good to go? Yes.
When I was talking to you about earlier, about height, the different stuff, just, do I need to do it? I mean, what's the, just to like, don't you use?
Of the bushes, you mean?
Yeah. Is telling you enough?
I think that's enough. I'll check into Hanks and see what he says about it.
Okay.
He knows all the right people.
And that would be great. I appreciate that. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense.
You right?
Anything else?
Were you gonna confirm the day of the next meeting?
That's what I was getting at.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good, good.
When are we gonna do it? You'll be back here in 2 weeks.
What was on the agenda?
Jordan and I'll talk, so.
This will be back.
Approve the minutes?
So it's actually probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
because we're July 15th, 2 weeks, and July 29th, so we're looking at August 6th.
Because I don't want to start messing up too much because I do base my work off the first of each month.
So
I'd rather just do 3 weeks. That's okay with me.
August 6th, that everyone good?
Wait.
August
August 5th, sorry.
First Tuesday.
because
First Tuesday.
It's gonna be a short one because we're just gonna talk about this.
I can see, hopefully, Grady can get back with me pretty quickly about these questions because they don't seem to be, they seem to be yes or no questions.
Good.
So, I mean, hopefully you can get back to us pretty quickly. And then make the changes that's recommended and hopefully get you something.
More. That's right, so anticipate a short meeting on August 5th. And get back on the first Tuesday, keep on that first Tuesday, and that's good. All right.
Great.
Question with Joe, anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.